From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag. Horse stock is attached.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Follow us on the social media. But today, I'm going to ask you for the favor and the courtesy, possibly, I guess. Subscribe to the show, please. Podcast form. Go on iTunes, leave a review, make it a 5-star. Right, Corey? We like 5-star reviews around here. And we would appreciate that greatly. And now I present to you, for the icing on the cake, to get the 5-star review, I present to you now Corey Clark.
And we don't even care what you say in the review.
Right.
You could just say that the show's the worst thing you've ever heard. Just leave 5 stars.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm right about that, right? We don't even care. We don't care. You could say Corey has the most annoying voice. Aslan's is grating. They're never positive. They think they're funnier than they are. Whatever you want to leave that's obviously nonsense and you're just joking. It's ironic, really. It's kind of like calling me Curly. But still, we don't care what's in the message. Just 5 stars, baby. Just 5 stars.
Yeah. So I'm stoked, man. We're going to have a good show for you. Think about
Which one? This one? You talking about this one?
Yeah, right now. What's about to happen.
Okay, great.
Just think about next week when we do our show on Monday. How are we going to go about talking about Game of Thrones? Are we going to do like a courtesy? Maybe we won't talk about Thrones until 20 minutes into the show, or will we be a spoiler-free zone? It's crazy. I can't believe it. It's almost here, Corey. I'm stoked. Final season.
Man, you have really fallen in hard here in the last month.
Yeah,
it's like the last 8 years you didn't believe what anybody was telling you. I'll say this. I don't know I think that's more maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday show. Because Monday morning is pretty early to be spoiling things.
You're right. No, you're right.
And obviously we could say, hey, spoiler alert, turn it down. And you could even go back and time it and say, hey, we're about to talk about Game of Thrones for 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah.
But I feel like that might have a lot of people either fast forwarding completely or just turning to another podcast.
Okay.
So maybe Tuesday or Wednesday we bring in the Thrones talk.
Okay. All right. I like that. Let's talk about what's on everyone's mind, obviously. Baseball dropping the series to Miami. They did get the win on Sunday. Is that a good consolation? Do things change now? It has to, right? I mean, you beat Florida. I think that'd be the turning point for the season, no?
If you beat Florida, what are you talking about? We're really going to lead with the baseball team? I see what you're doing, Aslan. I like how you're driving the ship. It's a nice consolation. They went down and scored a run there on Sunday. They scored 6 of them, actually. After getting shut out in 3 of their previous 4 games, it was nice that they could touch home plate a few times.
Stop.
Miami's not very good.
Stop. We're gonna talk about the spring game. Relax, everybody. Chill out. People get so upset that just get to it. And I think we do a pretty good job of diving right into the topics of du jour, the topic du jour. But I just wanted to have a little fun there. Spring game in the books. Gene Williams, founder administrator of WarChant.com, so close on the total points on now. It's sent 27-24 gold, 3 points shy. Gold team prevails 27-21 over Garnet. Gold team led by James Blackman. Garnet team, I guess, you can go ahead and say led by Jordan Travis. Let's get that one out of the way first. A lot of passive-aggressive comments on WarChant.com talking about the local media, the local talking heads, disrespecting Jordan Travis. And there is I don't want to say sizable, so I'm not going to say sizable, but there is a palpable feeling on the boards. There are people who have mortgages, children, families, lead corporations, businesses that say it's his team. It should be his team. He's the better quarterback than James Blackman. Let's just go ahead and get that out the way first. Pleasantly surprised by Jordan Travis's performance. I think if you watch the raw videotape that we would post or the raw video from practices, you would see a marked difference in velocity, delivery, accuracy when you would see James or Jordan throw. But for him to go out and perform the way he did is extremely. I don't think this is the time. I know I'm talking too much. We should let Corey talk. I get it. This is not the time to pick sides and things. It's the time to enjoy the fact or embrace and appreciate the fact that there is a capable guy on the team, provided this waiver goes through. That's the positive. I don't think this is some sort of battle competition. I think it's just a big sigh of relief if you're a Florida State fan that there's somebody behind James Blackman that could probably get by for a few weeks.
Yeah, but you had that anyway with Hornswoggle coming in. So you knew you were going to have a capable in quotes backup. You would think he's going to be a backup, but I mean, it will be a legitimate QB battle. And we don't know that Jordan Travis is even going to be eligible. I think we'd all be very surprised if he isn't, seemingly because they give waivers to anyone who raises their hand now. So I would think Jordan Travis, and plus he's got the Papa John's angle. I'm telling you, folks, that's gold.
It really should.
Everybody wanted to get out of Louisville. Play Corderay's coach left. There's a million reasons why that waiver should clear. But anyway, yeah, man, what we have to understand is, again, we saw 2 practices. And in those 2 practices, it was not close. We weren't blowing smoke up anybody's butt to say, and we weren't not seeing things correctly. It was not close between James Blackman and Jordan Travis. And I'll tell you who else agrees with us is the head coach, because he brought it up after the game on Saturday saying, look, he was really nervous when he got here. He really struggled. And he even mentioned those first 2 practices y'all saw, he really struggled. But the last 2 weeks, said about the middle of camp, he seemed to get more comfortable, more confident, and then he became a different quarterback. Now, he's never going to have a rocket right arm. Either that or he was throwing change-ups on Saturday. But you don't know, especially in that offense, or any offense really in this day and age, except maybe the NFL, you don't have to have a rocket arm. Danny Werfel didn't have a rocket arm to go old school for you. You got to make the right decisions. And I thought he made I was really impressed with the decisions he made. Really impressed. I mean, he used the middle of the field, and now he had guys wide open, and he did miss some throws.
Yeah.
He did miss some throws, and he was let down by his a receiver a couple times or two. But the middle of the field, he exploited that, and that to me is when you know a quarterback is seeing it well, right? Is when he'll use the middle of the field. Again, there were enormous gaps in the middle of the field for him to throw to.
Huge. But
still, he took advantage of it, and he played well. And, yeah, I think that's one of the bigger takeaways from the spring game is that, okay, Jordan Travis is or could be certainly a legitimate Division I college quarterback. I don't expect him to beat out James Black. It ain't like James Blackman threw 5 picks and was terrible. I mean, man, he threw for 415 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Tamorian Terry dropped 2 that should have been touchdowns. Which, Tamorian only catches them in the game when they matter, right, folks? I mean, come on, let's give the guy a break. But yeah, I thought that. Didn't you think Jordan Travis was the good sign? There is, I can't imagine that's going to be a QB. It could be. I shouldn't say that, but either way, it's good to know you have that on your roster for a few more years. A guy that is a capable college quarterback.
Absolutely. I mean, again, Louisville was in dire straits last year, and we saw it firsthand, and the fact that he was not seen as an option, I guess you could maybe even say the same thing for James Blackman. As bad as Florida State was last year, he was not looked at as a remedy for the ails of the program and for the team. So we'll see just how accurate or inaccurate that was. But with that Louisville team struggling as badly as they did last year, and the fact that he didn't get on the field at all, coupled with the fact that we saw 2 practices of him not looking very sharp, coupled with the fact that, yeah, I mean, even in the subsequent practices that were open, the viewing windows, it just, we only see him throwing against air, and you're not going to, you really can't tell a big step of growth, a big leap, big strides being made when a guy's throwing against air. Yeah, we weren't thinking or we weren't projecting him to be some sort of revelation, but it's, again, like I'm not getting in this contest of who's better, I think you have a capable, athletically talented guy like Jordan Travis. I think that's a really good thing. That makes you feel significantly better about the team, just because of what Gene mentioned on the wrap up after the final spring practice, which was I guess there's some stat out there that no Art Briles or Kendall Briles quarterback has ever survived an entire season. Like they've all gone down at some point. I don't know, but Robert Griffin III must be Kendall only. Because I'm pretty sure Robert Griffin III made it the whole season when he won the Heisman. But the fact that the quarterbacks for some reason have not been able to make it through 12, 13 games with Kendall, it's pertinent and very important that they get somebody that's healthy or capable, rather, and I think Jordan proved that. The one thing I will say, and this is the only negative thing I have to say, and it's not me being a contrarian, this is the only thing that I did see during the game, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The fact that the middle of the field was so wide open for so long, and it wasn't just Jordan reaping it and capitalizing on it. James also was getting huge chunks of yards on passes over the middle. It was absurd how wide open it was for pretty much the first half. I would say maybe the last 3-4 minutes of the second quarter, they seemed to kind of figure it out for whatever reason. So I'm not putting too much stock into saying that James is going to be some sort of all ACC guy or some dark horse Heisman candidate. I'm not saying that Jordan Travis is going to unseat him, because they're not going to see anything that wide open for that long against any other team. I don't think it's a problem with Harlan or the defensive scheme. I just think for whatever reason, that just presented itself for a long period of time, and maybe they just want to go ahead and groove one a couple times for these guys. But that was the only that's like, let's look at it through that prism, that's just not a sustainable sort of playground and carnival they're going to have every Saturday when they go up against other teams. Otherwise, for as skeptical as we are about spring games, you have to walk away from it feeling good. I mean, it might not be the red Kool-Aid with extra sugar on it, but I walked away. I was like, the offensive line looked good. The pocket was clean. There for every weird drop there was, Corey, I still think that some receivers made some pretty good catches. You saw the freshmen on the defense, Akeem Dent, Jaleel McRae, make some really good plays. Your quarterbacks played really well. Your running backs had really nice runs. That was a really good end to the spring, and I think springboards and should help maybe get some folks back on the train and ready for that game in Jacksonville come August.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wrote after the game on Saturday, is that it was such a different feel, excuse me, from what we had last year as far as, the victory lap and 60,000 people there and Willie slapping fives and the standing ovation and everything. The honeymoon's over, but as I wrote, that doesn't mean the marriage is. And it can be fixed, and it certainly looked like it was getting better on Saturday. We both don't put a ton of stock in the spring games, but if you're watching that, even as the most cynical anti-Willie fan there is, and you shouldn't be anti-Willie because he's your head coach, but even still, if you're anti-Willie, you have to admit how much smoother everything ran on offense. On offense. Now you're right. There were still some very, very big concerns on defense, but it's hard to know what to really put a lot of stock in, because it wasn't like the first team defense versus the first team offense. It was a mishmash of players on both teams. But offensively, the offensive linemen were not overwhelmed typically, except when they were trying to block Marvin, which a lot of people are going to be overwhelmed by him. They weren't overwhelmed by rush ends, and again, there's a negative to that too, is that the Florida State ends weren't doing a whole lot. But one penalty on the offense, one procedure penalty, and that was by Dante Lucas. No receivers lined up correctly. And I know you can roll your eyes and say, "Oh, great! Now we're going to applaud because they can line up correctly." Well, yeah. When you watch what we watched last year, it certainly looked like they're better coached. It did. I think Briles, Clements, Dugans have made a big difference already. Now, is that going to translate to 10 wins? Probably not in year one, but to me, it seemed like a really big step in the right direction, no matter who was quarterbacking, and they were going so much quicker. There was a legitimate pace. Even if they got a yard on first down or an incomplete pass, they were still lined up quickly and ready to go almost all the time. In the second half, they were a little more, they let the clock run at 10 or 9 seconds some. Or Jordan Travis would do that, I think, a little more than James Blackman did. But overall, man, I just thought the offense looked a lot better. And yeah, you need to fix the defense and the special teams too. We get it. But this thing, to really get going, the most important thing to fix, and we all agree, is the offense. You can't be as bad as they were for 12 games last year and be even an average team. You just can't. They were awful on offense. I can't put it another way. Awful. One of the worst in the history of the ACC. Just abysmal. If you can get that, like Kendall Briles has always done, like Willie Taggart typically does, if you can get that to be a good unit, averaging, instead of 22 points a game, which is absurd, 33, well, now you're at 8 wins, probably. Your defense doesn't have to be great. It can just be pretty good. And if you have a good offense, you're going to win more than you lose. That to me was what was so encouraging about the game on Saturday. Is that offense looked like a legitimate big play, fast-paced offense. Last year in the spring game, you had a couple big plays, but it was choppy. And James Blackman was not good in the spring game last year. He was frankly outplayed by Bailey Hawkman. This year he played well. He looked more in control. Again, I guess there are people that are still anti-James Blackman. My man is the last 2 football games he's put on pads and thrown passes. He's thrown for over 400 yards in both. Yeah. The guy makes throws and makes big plays. He just does. That's what he does. He's not Jameis Winston, but he ain't bad either. And again, I was really encouraged by the big plays, the amount of plays in a short amount of time, just the pace, the overall pace and crispness. Am I right, Aslan?
Absolutely.
Do you hear me? Am I preaching?
Total. I wish I could find. I wish they would do. Do they do total plays on the stat? Yeah. Look at this. Yeah. I'm looking at it. 85 out of the Garnet team, and then the Gold team had 65 total plays. And obviously, running clock, things of that nature. And
it's hard to even know, because of the running clock, it's hard to even know, how many seconds were elapsed in between plays.
But the first
it felt like a lot of times it was 27 on the clock or 29 on the clock, and they were snapping it again.
Yeah. But, first half they were going. The thing – I asked Willie about the offensive line creating a clean pocket. How much of that is Randy just being a better teacher? How much of it is him and Kendall knowing what they want to dial up? How much of it's physical growth and development? And, I shouldn't have said it that way because then he's like, yeah, all of them. You can never give people multiple choices. Kids, journalistic pro tip, don't give people multiple choices unless it's yes or no.
Well, you don't want to ask them a yes or no question either.
Well, sometimes, it'll.
Are you staying at Florida State?
Red, that kind of stuff. But, I've said it and people think it's, me being some sort of weird latent racist for sticking up for Walt Bell or whatever, which is crazy. It's absurd. Stop it, everybody. But if you're not calling plays, and again, I don't know how much responsibility was his to teach things properly. You would think him being the offensive coordinator and not calling plays on Saturdays, his only thing would be organization and getting guys to understand their role. Obviously, the offensive line did not do a good job of helping create good situations. The quarterback did not do a good job of climbing the pocket, having good pocket presence. But to see that offense with And say what you want about James having Tamori and Terry to throw to. I think some people are trying to dog Terry for whatever reason, or James, and be like, well, a lot of his yards were just on Hail Marys to Tamori and Terry. That's a bad thing, knowing and identifying where your best player is and giving it to him in positions to be successful. But Kendall was coaching the Gold or the Garnet side, which had Jordan Travis. So James was getting signals in from not the guru, from the wizard. So the fact that both sides were going so crisp, so smooth, the lack of procedure penalties, the things that plague this team, not even so much from wins and losses, but just look good. Just look good in 2019, right? Obviously you need to win, get back into a bowl. You should be able to do that at least. But to go out there and perform the way they did, obviously limited amount of plays, which is a good and bad thing because I don't want to say good or bad thing, but I think it's twofold. Willie mentioned there's so many things that they want to do that they haven't even been able to put in the playbook yet, so that's an encouraging start. But I wouldn't dog the defense because they're probably playing cover 2 most of that game, I would imagine. I don't know why they weren't covering the middle of the field, but that's neither here nor there. But just, running play smoothly. There was only one time I think DJ was looking at the sideline, asking, where's the play? Right. And, they ran a play to the backside away from him, and it went for a loss. But
remember, that's out of 140 plays.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I walked out there thinking, all right, this is definitely on the right trajectory. It's moving in the right direction. And, if you want to sit here and pick nits at guys, I think somebody started a thread saying that Tamori and Terry drops the ball too much and that Auden Tate is clearly better than him. So all he does is run go routes. Man, listen, when they start letting him run slants, and even little, he's going to bust things. He's going to be all right, everybody. He's going to Canton. Everybody chill out.
Yeah, and Auden Tate's not on the team anymore.
Yeah, that too.
So that's a weird thing to say anyway, but Auden Tate is not better than Tamori and Terry. It's not debatable. I'm not going to hear it. He did have a bad drop. But he also on the same in both of those, he had right before the half. James Blackman almost essentially threw 3 interceptions out of 4 plays. One was on 3rd and 18, and Jaleel McRae tipped it. I like that kid, by the way. Tipped it, and Keyshawn Helton caught it for a first down. Then he threw I guess it was a post route to Terry, where, all he has to do is put air on it, and Terry there's nobody there. It's just an automatic touchdown, and he threw it too much on the line, and McRae really should have intercepted that one. And then the other one, he threw essentially a Hail Mary to Terry that Fagan knocked away with 1 second left from the 50. That's what that was. That wasn't nobody's going to give him grief for that. That wasn't even a mistake. He just threw it up to his best guy because there was no risk with 1 second left. But Terry should have had a touchdown on a cross in the end zone where it was a little high, but he still should have come down with it. Hall of Famers do that. And then also on another one in the second half where he dropped, which again, those weren't go routes. They were deep routes, but they weren't go routes. He had to cut into the middle of the field, and he was wide open. And they need to evolve his game a little bit. But it's all there, guys. I don't know how anybody could watch 15 and be disappointed by that guy. Yeah. Get open. Getting open is the biggest thing. Catching it is number 2, and it's really close. But get open and score a lot of touchdowns, and that's what 15 does every time he's on the field almost. And overall, I thought Blackman, for the most part, looked pretty good. He had a stretch where he wasn't great, but I thought for the most part he was in control. He didn't make horrible decisions. He made a couple bad throws, and he threw the ball away a couple times. He got pushed around in the pocket a little bit, but man, you throw for 415 yards and you make big plays. You throw for big play. I thought that was really encouraging. I would have thought most Florida State fans would have been encouraged by that. But more than anything, again, so much, and I did it. I was more guilty than anyone last year, writing the whole spring column about how incredible it was, what an incredible scene it was. For all those years, Jimbo wanted people to come to the spring game, and they never really did. And then Willie comes, and the fan base falls in love with him, and they put 60,000 people in there, and it was electric, and it was fun, and there were ovations, and the victory lap. And what did it matter once the season started?
Yeah.
Not an ounce. It didn't matter at all. And so this year, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to become a talking point about how there were half as many people in the stands, maybe, and there wasn't nearly the energy and excitement. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah. The only thing that matters, and again, I'm guilty of it because I wrote about it last year, what a great sign it was that everybody was on board the Taggart train. Well, it didn't matter at all. So I learned my lesson there, and I hope we all did. What matters is the play on the field, and the play on the field was sharp and precise for the most part. It was encouraging, not a wave for 60,000 fans.
Yeah, we're not out of the woods yet, but we're moving in the right direction.
Sure, right? Don't you? In looking back, there wasn't nearly as much positive to take away from last year's spring game as we thought. Most of the positive we took from last spring game was what happened in the stands and not on the field. Yeah. And that's not how you rebuild programs. You rebuild from the field first. And it seemed like this Saturday was a good sign that was happening.
I think an astute writer would probably make some sort of allegory about last year was all about sizzle, and this past Saturday was more about steak.
Well, yeah, but that's not a bad idea. I feel like I should have written that. Didn't really happen. But also, and I don't want to say this, but as we all know what iron does.
Right.
And you best believe there was a lot of sharpening going on Saturday, my man.
A lot of clanging. A lot of
clanging. A lot of steel clanging. It was like a fencing battle. Is that steel? What is that they use?
I don't know. It is quite flexible.
It's
so I don't know if
bendy though, right? Is it steel? It's not iron. I wouldn't think it wouldn't be that bendy.
Yeah, it's got to be steel.
What are those things called? What are those things?
An epi and a P.
An epi. No, like an EpiPen.
It's like EPEE. I think it's spelled.
Oh yeah. Sure. Sounds French. Epee.
Epee. Oh, it's pronounced epee. Can you hear this, Corey?
Epee.
No, I can't, but I assume it was somebody saying epee.
Correct. Look at you.
Okay.
Look at you. Nice. Couple other things to tie up, I guess, from the Garden and Gold game. Great to see Kalen LeBourne out there making plays. He went down.
Laburn, right?
Laburn. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Good job. Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. Welcome. Good job, Corey. Kalen Laburn went down briefly. I even, no cheering allowed in the press box, but when he went down, I even groaned out. I'm like, oh, no, please, no. My heart sunk a little bit. I felt bad for the kid. I thought he hurt his knee.
Well, you know why I felt bad? I think that happened in the first half, but then I think he also limped off the field in the second half too. after being tackled.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, is it a non-tackle half or not? Because it seemed like some people, like the very first play of the second half, Marvin Wilson throws Cam Akers to the ground.
Right.
It's like, did they not get the memo? And there were times where, like, it looked like guys were thudded up and touched, but the whistle wasn't blown. And I'm like, man, if these refs don't start blowing the whistle, these defensive guys are going to get so irked that they're going to fling a guy out of bounds. So that was, but yeah, man, when, I'm going to try to with Laborn, but it's not happening. When LeBourne, he looked pretty good, right?
Yes.
He made some cuts. Now, I don't think he had quite the explosiveness, and that might have been because he got banged up in the first half. But, man, he still looked like he had the vision. And, yeah, man, you just think about that. You think about him and Helton and Matthews and obviously Terry and obviously Akers. I mean, you got guys that can play. If the O-line can – number one, if you got somebody that can get them the ball, and we think they do, maybe multiple guys, and then also if the offensive line can just be adequate. And they certainly seemed adequate on Saturday.
Yeah. Kalen, what would limit him more, I think, is that knee brace. That knee brace is going to come off before the game against Boise, and I think whatever explosiveness he might have lacked Saturday, you'll see come back. But he went down. It looked like maybe it was his knee, but it was his hip. He cramped up, and he felt fine after that. So he's all good to go. None of us asked Willie this, and I feel a little bit bad in hindsight, but not too much, because they gave us Willie for a long while after the game, but I don't know what the reasoning was behind not using Ricky. And I think, did Logan Tyler kick once in the second half? Did he punt once?
I forgot about that. So Ricky didn't kick at all, did he?
I don't think so. No. I mean,
I'll wonder if he's special teams. I guess we shouldn't wonder aloud, but I wonder if he had a strain or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, actually, Logan Tyler, they have him down. He punted 5 times apparently. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he did. He was the left-footed guy, okay. Aslan.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no Ricky. Parker Growthhouse, I think, is the guy. He was from the University of Incarnate Word. So.
Oh, what's his last name?
Grothhouse.
Favorite Swayze film was Roadhouse.
Hey-o.
Did you ever see that?
Hey, I have not. Actually, I saw like the first 3/4 of it like a few weeks ago. I'm like, I need to see Roadhouse. It was on. I was bored, and I'm like, I should probably watch Roadhouse. So I watched it, and
it is like an awesome bad movie,
yes.
Like an awesome awful movie, because it's awful, but it's really awesome at being awful.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Speaking of awful movies, I would recommend not seeing the movie Us. Unless if somebody wants to tweet at me and explain to me what I don't
think that's going to be a popular opinion.
I didn't get it. I walked out like I know there's some sort of underlying metaphor to the struggle in that movie and what's going on in modern day life. I understand the use of cinematic device to do that, but I just didn't understand where it was going. It wasn't scary at all. Like I didn't jump. I wasn't fearful. It was mildly funny. Actually, the humor was sort of smart, I think, just the physical reactionary part of it. But otherwise, yeah, I didn't get it. So anyhow, somebody tweet at me, explain to me what I missed. I had to Google, I'm like, literally, what is the point of the movie Us? And it was something about...
Was there an answer?
What's that?
Was there an answer to that?
It was... No, it just kind of... It tried to explain what was happening, but it didn't... It said, this was used as a metaphor... It was like this was a metaphor to describe what was going on in the movie, but I'm like, okay, well, what was the metaphor that it was trying to explain, outside the confines of the film or what have you? I'm not doing a good job of explaining, but it didn't give you the explanation for the metaphor that these scenes and the characters were trying to create. There was something about, I don't know, maybe about the way ironically, it was something about culturally appropriating things of Native American history and then. Not properly, revering them. I don't know. I'm like, I didn't get any of that from the film, but I'm not that smart of a guy. When I watch films, that's why I like old school. I like Rocky, just things that are simple. Okay, guy fights guy.
When you said old school, you meant literally the movie Old School?
Yes, correct. Okay. It just makes you laugh. I just want to laugh. Mm-hmm. I don't want to sit here and have to, rack my brain over things. So
you're not a thinker. You never have been. Folks, obviously send your tweets and emails about Aslan's movie criticism to him. Don't at me. I don't want any part of it. I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it when it comes on DVD. I'm sure I'll like it because I like Jordan Peele.
Okay. All right. Whatever. We should talk briefly, I guess, about baseball. Or, I mean, I guess we said enough about it. They lost to Miami, the series, 2 games.
No, we can talk a little bit about it, and also the Final Four. I thought that was exciting.
Who you got tonight?
I think nobody really. This, I know it's not Wake Up War Eagle, but the guy that fouled Guy not getting nearly enough grief.
Yeah.
Like what was he doing? You just cost your team a chance at the national championship, and he handled it awesomely in the locker room. He sat there, he answered questions. He said it's not the ref's fault, which again, it's not because you fouled the guy. But it became so much more about the refs and whether that foul should have been called or not. And it's like, of course it should have been called. It was a foul. He slides into his hip as he's shooting. Now, I don't think it affected the shot, but by rule, that's a foul, whether there's a second left in a Final Four game or not. And it just completely, what was he doing? Why did he do that? Why did he just not run? Don't leave your feet. Just put your hand up. Challenge him. You're a tall guy. You play basketball in college. So anyway, I do feel bad for him. I mean, that's awful. But man, how about that dude? And I always think about those moments through the prism of me now with a son that plays sports. But can you imagine being related to the parent of that kid about to shoot those free throws?
You want to look at through that? You want to go that one? I thought you were talking about the
That's what I meant. Like, obviously, you feel bad for anybody that's related to the Auburn kid because that's something he's going to live with for a while. But also, man, imagine being in the stands watching your son or daughter get ready to shoot 3 free throws down by 2 with 0.6 seconds left.
Yeah.
I mean, I might literally throw up. I might have to go to the concourse. I don't know that I could watch. And he just sat up there. And what's cool about Guy is he actually said after the game he was terrified.
Yeah.
He's like, I was terrified I was going to miss all 3 of them. And then he went. I mean, it didn't even look like he was Bob. It looked like he was just shooting in an open gym. So that was really remarkable. Not that anybody wanted to hear my take on the Final Four. Also, it's kind of cool that Florida State's still the last team to beat Virginia. Will
they be the last team to beat Virginia in 2019?
I think so. I think maybe they're now like the center. They're the team of destiny. And it just, again, it's just a bummer not to bring it back to Florida State. I guess I should because that's the point of this show. But that was the second to last game really that a fully loaded Florida State team played. And they kind of controlled that game, at least for the last 15 minutes. And that wasn't a fluke that they beat Virginia the way they did. And it's just a bummer that we didn't get to see that Florida State team that played Virginia, that also, hung right with Duke in Charlotte. We didn't get to see them play in the NCAA tournament because there's a chance they could be playing tonight. But it didn't happen.
What's going to make one shining moment from Florida State?
I would think like the Cabangeli dunk with all 3 guys on him.
Okay.
With all 3 guys, when he just like, get off me, get off me, get off me, and then dunk and scream. Yeah. That was kind of, I think, when Vermont knew it might not be their day. And then, just real quick about baseball. Good win. Did you know it's in the press release? Does this seem like it can be possible that Sunday was the 4th time this season that J.C. Flowers has hit a home run in the same game that he collected a save?
I saw a stat in the game notes last week about that. Like, it's Buster and Mike McGee are the only ones that have ever done it. But yeah, that's incredible.
They'd only done it once.
Yeah,
he's done it 4 times this season, and he only had 6 home runs. I mean, that's an incredible stat. I don't know what the national record is, but my man's got to be like every time he gets a home run, you might as well run him out there because he's going to get the save essentially. But that's a cool, and that was we'll see. I mean, they're out of the tournament right now. They're not in the NCAA tournament. They got a lot of work to do. Their RPI going into Sunday's game was 113th.
It's not good.
I mean, they're not. I'm not even sure they're all that close to the tournament right now. Now, win Tuesday against Florida would be pretty big, but heck, Florida's. I don't even know if they add to your RPI much anymore. I don't know what they're. I mean, they're not going to be hosting probably because they're really struggling too. So you got to hope you win that and can go get some series somewhere along the way. But man, it was good to end the streak, a 4-game losing streak, about as ugly a streak as Mike Martin's had in a long time. I mean, you lose 8-0 to Boston College, you lose 3-2 a midweek game, and then you lose 11-0 to Miami on Friday and 4-0 on Saturday. So to get one win was nice. Maybe they can turn it around. That was not a great series offensively for them, but maybe they turned it around with a big 6-run outburst on Sunday.
Drew Parrish, I thought, actually threw well for whatever it was, 4 innings, and then, allowed 2 hits. Mike Martin came and talked to him, and then it just went really bad. I think they might have intentionally walked the bases loaded, and they got a grand slam hit on him, so that is not good. I don't know where Drew is, like, mentally, physically. That's a huge bummer. Did not see that coming at all. It's an absolute shock that we're in April now, and he hasn't figured it out. He hasn't, returned to form, if you will. It was one bad inning, but it was a really, 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 really bad inning. So I don't know what, you can't give up on him. He's your Friday night guy. I don't know what they can do to try to kickstart him. I don't know if really maybe you start CJ on Friday nights and let Drew look at the lineup one night up close in the out of the dugout or in the pen, and he gets a better feel for what he wants to throw and deliver. But obviously pitching is a problem, but the offense is just it's bad. And we talked about 2017; they were on the ropes. But that's because guys like, Busby was hurt, Taylor Walls was hurt, but they kind of returned to form. These are just freshmen, and they've got to get better somehow. I don't know how they can. I don't know how much you can really expect growth. After that loss to JU, Mike Levin said that he's the whole freshman excuse, if you will. He's like, I'll give them 2 or 3 more weeks of that, and then no longer. Like they've got to start, playing like they've been playing college baseball for a while. I don't even know if he's afforded another 10 days or however long he has left on that sort of timeline, but what can you really do? They've changed the lineup 20 different times, it feels like. They've put 5 different guys at first base, it feels like. Getting Reese Albert back would be really nice, but I don't know how much of him is going to be touch and go either. Even if he does return to the lineup, how steady and reliable will he be? But that is a big part that is missing. With the way JC's been playing lately, even at the plate, Mendoza needs to find his way. But Reese Albert, I feel like, would be a good bolster to the offense. It could maybe be the spark they need. But this is a downer, and if they do on Tuesday night what they've done against Florida for the last better part of, 5 or 6 years it's been, they're really running out of opportunities to find moments to galvanize and turn things around. But there would not be any better one than to finally beat Florida for the first time in 10 tries and Mike Martin's last shot at them in Tallahassee. So I think to a certain degree the season does come down to Tuesday night, man. Hopefully folks will come out to the game and pack out Hauser, and they'll figure out a way. I don't even know who would start the game, but, throw everybody and anybody.
Well, yeah. I thought it was kind of cool that, Mike Martin's first season as the Florida State head coach, they lost their first 2 games against Miami. They opened the season at Miami. His very first win as a coach was at Miami. And it was the Sunday. And he always tells the story that Jim Morris was his assistant, and as they're leaving, I think they won 10-0. And as they're leaving the field on the bus, they see that the Miami team is running laps. Like they're doing, the coach, I guess it would have been Ron Frazier at the time, is making them basically do a whole workout after the game. And Jim Morris was like, man, we must be really bad if he's making them do push-ups and sit-ups and stuff after losing to us. And that was his first win ever. So I thought it was kind of cool that his last season he wins the finale and the Sunday finale against Miami down there. And again, yeah, man, it's probably, unless somehow the NCAA figures out a way to match up Florida and Florida State as like the 2 and the 3 in somebody's region, it's going to be the last time he ever plays Florida. And I know this has been a gross stretch here against the Gators, but you got to hope they find a way to somehow win this game. If you can win 2 games in a row, and it's a midweek game and it's a Sunday salvage game, but if they're against Miami and Florida, well, okay, well, now all of a sudden you're feeling kind of okay about things again. At least those are good wins, and maybe that gets the thing turned around. I don't know. I don't know if it can be turned around. Reese Albert is a big loss, that's for sure, and hopefully he can get back in the lineup. But you got to hope, and it wouldn't have mattered really, honestly, as it turned out, how well Parrish and Van Eyck pitched this weekend, because they didn't score a run for either one of them. So it wouldn't have mattered. But you got to hope those guys find it and can be the 1-2 workhorse combo down the stretch, and they can win 2 games every weekend just with those 2 horses going, but we're just not seeing it. There's just nothing. Still, you hope that they can get some momentum going with on Tuesday, but it's hard to see what's going to change. But hopefully it does, and it usually does. They've had stretches like this before, and they turn it around. I don't want to completely write them off, but it's got to come quickly now. We're halfway through more than halfway through the season. Yeah. So yeah, figure out a way, guys. I know we all know you listen to this show. By the way, I did want to say there were a lot of really nice people. I hope the ones that said nice things to me. I was with Brady on the field before the game, and then in the stands, and then walking around the stadium. And there were just really nice people that said, and I have a terrible memory, so I can't remember any names. They were very complimentary and nice, complimentary of our show, but then just nice and just very complimentary and sweet. And, we love you guys. We love you listeners. Well, I know Aslan probably doesn't love many of you, but I do. And I really do appreciate it. That was really nice, and they were really nice to my son. So you know who you are, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well said. Gators on Tuesday, Clemson, 3-game set at Hauser starting Friday. So, yeah, get it fixed, figure it out, guys.
Come get some, Clemson. Come get some. You don't want any of this.
That's it, Corey. We got to the end of the show. I probably should have stopped you telling everybody that you loved them. But that's it. So what do we do now, Corey? What are we going to do now? We're probably not going to have a lot of shows here coming up, folks, so don't get mad and tweet at me and tell us to go to work. Because we got a website to figure out.
We'll always have, again, folks, you got to bear with us. There's not going to be a ton of new football stuff to talk about. The baseball team is the baseball team, and basketball's over. But we can always get together a couple times a week and just talk about whatever you want. Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Weekly Aslan Corner with the movies. Seemed like that was off to a rip-roaring start this week. So we got a lot of options. Or I can just tell you guys how much I love you over and over again. Because I do.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.